Hey everyone, I'm Rather Incoherent, and this is the Boundary Beyond. Before we start talking about this scenario and my deck upgrades, I want to quickly cover what I'm doing with the supplies I got last time. During the resupply point, we each get 5 supply points. Then for completing all 12 acts, we get 12 experience that has to be spent either 5-1 for healing trauma or 2-1 for gaining supplies. At the resupply point, the supplies aren't all the same, some of these have gone away. So I've permanently missed out on getting a pendant or a rope. There's nothing I can do about that. With Mandy, I'm converting all 12 of my supplies, or all 12 of my act experience, into 6 additional supplies. And I'm spending my 11 supplies, which is an unreasonable fucking number, on blanket, chalk, pocket knife, gasoline, and enough provisions for the entire team, for the entire rest of the game as well. As a quick recount, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. For Amanda, I'm healing 1 mental trauma on her for 5 of the experience. With the other 7, I convert 6 of it to 3 supply, which wastes 1, there's nothing to be done about that. And then 3 plus 5 gives her 8 supplies. I spend that on pickaxe, compass, blanket, gasoline. And again, 1 of those supplies is wasted. There's just no real efficient way to use it. And the only thing I haven't gotten is the canteen. The canteen's the most minor item. If you have a low vengeance run and you're forging your own path, it helps you get the key that more or less skips the 9th session. However, since you're skipping most of the epilogue session, I don't really think it makes the game more fun. And we're already at 10 vengeance, so we're probably not going to be able to do that anyway. To quickly go through the other story decisions that have occurred, we forged the bond with Chaka, so nothing bad has happened. We have recovered the relic, so we go through Arcane Thrumming and switch out our relic for the Forestalling the Future version. We get Alejandro's Thought, so we'll be starting with 2 additional resources. We spend 1 of those gasolines that we just purchased. And there is no penalty now. And that's it for our story decisions. So, before I go talk about the scenario anymore, I want to talk about the upgrades I'm making to my decks, and I want to have a brief dialogue about how I feel that this campaign has impacted Mandy and Amanda's performances. Now, obviously, this is Rex, not Mandy or Amanda. However, this is the Rex deck that I'm currently playing through Return to Forgotten Age with my tabletop group. He's in a 3-player group as the sole Clover. He doesn't need to touch combat at all. And Rex is also fairly unique among Seekers in that he doesn't care about any specific card. With almost every Seeker, there's something like with Mandy where you need a Mr. Rooks, or with Amanda where Dream Diary is really important. There's something for everyone that's super important for that specific investigator, and there just isn't for Rex. There's nothing he's pressured into buying. So when you look at this deck, I've got Hiking Boots Pathfinder for mobility. Let's not acknowledge how gross the Dunwich Slash is, that's not important. I've already upgraded my Cryptic Researches, even though I'm at 24 experience. I have upgraded my Deductions, Perceptions aren't quite there yet. I could have upgraded them, but I decided to get Eye of Truth to see how good that card can be. By the way, it's absolutely sick, just you normally don't find time to upgrade it because you have something else demanding your attention. And this Rex deck has disgustingly outperformed both Mandy and Amanda as a Clover. And I want to talk about why that is. Part of it is that Rex is legitimately a better character, for reasons that I'll dissect further in a future video. But a huge part of that is just because when you come over to this Mandy deck, I have spent 4, 8, 11, 15 experience making her into a fighter. After that, I spent 8 experience on Mr. Rooks and a 1 on Pendant and the Queen. I have spent 9 of my 27 experience on the shit that Mandy wants to do. 12 actually because of charisma. And all the rest of it went to being a fighter because we needed something to do that. And that's actually something that I really wanted to do with this campaign. I didn't want to pick Ursula and easily evade every enemy with like a modified foot score of 7 with all of the Seeker upgrades. And I didn't want to pick Joe Diamond and just fight the threatening enemies. I wanted to demonstrate that Seekers can just do weird flex things with their card pool inherently. But as a consequence of doing this, compared to what Mandy would be doing as a Clover in a normal game, she's grossly underperforming. She's still doing really well, to be honest. She's easily handling herself in terms of clues. She's more than carrying her weight. But when you look at this 15 experience I've spent towards fighting, compared to I've banked 1 experience right now, that's 16 I could have spent elsewhere. Coincidentally, 16 is the exact amount to upgrade both Perceptions, both Deductions, and buy 2 copies of Cryptic Writings. Sorry, not Cryptic Writings, Cryptic Research. The fast draw 3 card. This deck is comically stronger as a Clover when it makes those upgrades instead. That should be obvious. I mean, I spent 16 experience elsewhere, but that 16 experience that's realistically coming up next for Mandy, that's what she's going to be doing going forward. is some of the best 16 experience in the game. A really hidden part of Rex's strength is that he gets to spend that 16 immediately. He has nothing else demanding his attention. And contrary to the Mandy deck, it looks like she hasn't suffered the same way that Amanda has. And she hasn't suffered to the same degree, but she definitely has suffered. In a normal Amanda deck, you're so good at finding clues that you don't have to fight. Even in a 2-player game, you just tell the other person to be dedicated fighter because you're so good at being pure Clover. This Occult Lexicon isn't just 3 experience I had to spend on the Occult Lexicon. It's the hand slot this magnifying glass never gets to fill. And far more importantly, it's the reason I had to upgrade these cryptic writings so early, because of the economy demands of dealing with every single enemy using Occult Lexicon. So this isn't just 3 experience, it's 7 experience, and a hand slot that increases my minuscule book by 1. And that 7 experience? That's 2 deductions and a perception. And I've got experience banked. It would be the other perception too coming into this next scenario. Amanda, as a Clover, is being hurt almost as badly as Mandy is in this campaign. Even though Mandy has taken the majority of the experience hit, Amanda's economy and Amanda's experience and Amanda's hand slots have as well. And these magnifying glasses shouldn't be in the deck. But if you go back to my previous decks, you see there are other cards that were better to cut. Take the initiative. And I've got a plan. Were cards that really just did not ever carry their weight in the deck. But I needed them in the early scenarios because we had no real way of dealing with enemies efficiently. And right now I'm just in a spot where it's like, if I were to open my endgame Amanda deck, it's these cards and Red Gloved Men over the magnifying glass. I just can't upgrade out of them quickly. And as you can see, Veda Whitsley has gone into Amanda's deck. 3 head, 3 foot just makes her decent, and Amanda, you can just throw her under her. 1 cost 3/3 soak is just good. She draws her deck much faster than Mandy does, so again, it's easier for her to get her into play, burn through her, and use her again. But the big thing I wanted to talk about is just how impactful it is to be forced this hard into flex fighting. When I talk about Seeker's flex fighting, in the first half of a campaign, that's really usually just Occult Lexicon 0. You keep it in your hand, you don't do anything with it. End of the scenario, you take it out, you play 3 blood rights, you deal 6 damage to the boss. You more than carried your weight in that campaign as far as anyone else is concerned on the damage front. This is absurd. This is like 21 damage of Tesla's nonsense from Ancient Stones over the course of a scenario, plus the blood rights, plus healing in case we get swamped by enemies early and have a hard time recovering. This is far more investment than you're ever expected to make on a Seeker. And honestly, I'm not convinced it was unnecessary. I suppose today's video will see just how unnecessary it was, and also going in the next couple of videos, whether or not the difficulty ramps up and it turns out we need all of this. So that's enough of the decks, let's get back to the game. Before we read the agendas and acts and get into our mulligans, I want to talk about a couple of things in this scenario that I'm going to dislike as they happen. Most scenarios don't get this sort of preface, but this is one of the very few scenarios that I genuinely do not enjoy playing. First, when you explore, you will be replacing locations with their ancient locations, which is cool in theory, but because you update your connections each time it happens, which there's no nice button for at a table, but even at this, it's just needlessly confusing. I get what they're going for. A modern city is not interconnected the way the much more rural and overgrown society of the Aztecs would have been. Some connections vanish, some reemerge. I get the idea. But the play experience of it feels terrible. The second thing is there are a couple encounter cards that are just absolutely no fun. Timeline Destabilization is a card that's so obnoxious that I considered getting Eye of Truth this scenario on Amanda. And honestly, I'm not convinced it would have been wrong. I still want to do it. It's just not quite an easy thing to fit into her deck with her current experience. I'd have to give up Cryptic Research for it. And then in it's 5 experience that could have been a Red Glove Man next scenario and I wouldn't have needed it as badly. It's just an incredibly obnoxious card. It would be wrong to talk about things that it's like the scenario, not mention Window to Another Time, which is just ancient evils that pretends you have a choice in the matter. But possibly the thing I dislike most in this whole scenario, even more than managing location connections, is merging timelines. This is one of the highest variance, most brutal cards in the game. Sometimes it reads discard your whole hand, lose all resources you plan to use for fighting, and skip your turn. Sometimes it does literally nothing. This is horrifically bad card design, and I'm upset that it is still here in the Return to set. Anyway, with that brief disclaimer as to why I'm likely to be a little bit dour throughout the episode, let's get into it. Agenda 1A, the Boundary Broken. Ishtak is already up and about when you awaken, donning her traditional armor, her bow on her back, and a long blade at her side. Something's wrong, she states cryptically. I only meant to peer through the boundary. Her eyes are bloodshot, her face pale as a ghost. You suspect she hasn't slept all night. It matters not. It's time you witness the fate that will befall humanity if we fail. It's got 8 doom, and it might look like there's only one left. There's actually a second, or rather third, act and agenda after this. In a more modern scenario, you would just have a 3 agenda and 3 act deck. And if you advance Agenda 2, it would read discard Act 2 without progressing it. They just hadn't quite worked out how they were doing that yet. In Act 1A, crossing the threshold, as you depart the hotel, you realize that the landscape of the city has been altered. Silver lightning crackles in the sky overhead, and the earth rumbles deep below your feet. Monstrous polypus entities float just below the clouds. What's going on? You yelled at Chitaka over the whistling wind. What is this place? One future, she replies enigmatically. And the first time we explore and find an ancient location, we're going to have to advance this act. When we do, if we fail the head test, we're going to take a weakness, so let's wait until we get some skills to explore. In this scenario, we get to choose which of our starting locations we go to. I just dropped Mandy here, hit setup, flip the locations. Both of these are actually kind of hard for us to do. We're not going to have 5 or more damage for a while, it'll eventually happen, and then we can explore this one. Over here, discarding cards at least 5 costs from your hand is actually really hard to do. Our team doesn't really have that many high-cost assets, and the ones we do have tend to be very necessary. Anyway, doing our mulligans in Amanda's hand, I started to mulligan this whole hand and then realized maybe that's not the case. Are there penalties for failure? There are, but not at the start of a scenario. There are no ancient locations to penalize me. I'll hold Unrelenting, that way I can potentially use Cryptic Research on Mandy, or even just hold it for an Ancient Stones combo later. Prophesie's not really a great card, but it's something to throw under so I end up not using my Unrelentings. Well, this hand needs to go. I might hold Deep Knowledge and crack the case. Those are actually relatively good. I'm only holding Deep Knowledge. You've got to find Mr. Rook, that's just how Mandy works. Well, we're going to put some curses in the bag and look for Mr. Rook is what I'm hearing. I think since Mandy is filling the bag with curses, we go with her turn first, but we have to do the Amanda thing before any of that. We're throwing Unrelenting under us and drawing this turn, pretty much guaranteed. Over here for Amanda, or for Mandy rather, God, I'm going to stop saying their names. Also, apparently I forgot to remove curses. Let's draw 1, 2, 3 cards. Nice, very nice. Alright, abandon that second one then, we don't need it. I think I have to play Ancient Psalms my last action. It's just a thing I've got to do, and this has 7 charges. And now the question becomes, do I want to use Mr. Rook this turn at all? I do. I really don't want to hit my weakness into enemy. My leg broke, that's unfortunate. What isn't unfortunate is getting 2 resources out of the deal. And now we're looking at the top 7 for 2 hits. I think I don't care about Perception really being in my hand, and I want to save it for hitting Practice Makes Perfect later. Anyway, that's it for Mandy. Didn't put quite as many curses in the bag as I was planning to. Over here for Amanda, I'm immediately playing Lab Assistant. Let's see if it changes my decision making. It has not so far. Native Whitsley is pretty good. Arrows from the Trees is in the encounter set, and just being able to throw her away to soak the damage is kind of nice. But then again, putting her in play is dealing an additional damage. It's not really a plan. I'm going to Cryptic Research myself. Am I? Yeah, Amanda's got Mr. Rook. He's good. Well, I feel great about that decision. I don't quite trigger the 4 resources, but I do get 3 out of the deal. At this point, I'm thinking I might not be using this Unrelenting much this turn. I'm definitely using it once. Seal the good tokens. Investigate. That doesn't do anything, but it counts for the ticker, I guess. Draw 2 cards. Yeah, those are good cards. Last action is easy Dream Diary. Things are off to a really strong start for us. No enemy phase, so we go straight to upkeep. Deduction will be nice eventually. Oh. Alright then. Alright then. Well, that'll be Ancient Evils. Goodbye. And over here... Oh! Well, the game is trying its best to do something about this. Unfortunately, I can't help but notice that you're not an elite enemy, and I actually don't care. Okay, investigation phase, we do the Amanda thing. I'm not sure that Amanda needs anything right now, because there's no clues on the map, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing to explore. So I'm just going to sacrifice this magnifying glass for the rounds. Over here for Mandy, first things first, let's use our Mr. Rook, and see if we're hitting our weakness or if we're killing this man. You get 2 resources, because of course I do. And then probably Practice Makes Perfect Ancient Stones. I mean, that's a very easy choice. Anyway, it turns out I just drew 2 cards, so you can have 2 damage, friend. And then I guess I'll generously let you hit me. I played Deep Knowledge, add 2 curses to the bag. He swings for 1/1. Oh no, he's hit the Mr. Rook, who's very expendable. And then I'll draw 1, 2, 3 cards. 1, 2, 3 charges. And, whoops. Okay, we've sorted out our technical difficulties. What else do we want to do? I'm a fool. I should have let him beat me up more. If I just let him hit me twice, I could have explored from here. That's actually fine. I've only got 1 Promise of Power in hand right now. What I won't have happen is for Amanda to be somewhere that you explore with a skill test, and then use Promise of Power under her during her turn to trigger it. That would be ideal. I'm going to go ahead and get these segments of mimics out of my hand to summon the Pendant of the Queen. I'm not, like, super thrilled about it, but I do think it needs to happen. I know it seems weird to not be thrilled about playing out Pendant of the Queen, but I'm just in a situation where I feel like I could be better using my resources somewhere else. Anyway, we get out the other Ancient Stone. We're displaying a whole host of very balanced assets over here in Mandy. And we're not doing this, so I guess I should go up or down. For the life of me, I can't remember what any of these do. Let us head down first. This is just a double action. That one's actually very easy to do. That one's not a problem at all. So that's nice. Over here for Amanda, I will definitely be playing my Occult Lexicon. That just needs to happen. This comes to my hand. The combined cost of my entire hand is 3. She's not great at this Explorer role. I guess I'm going to head up on Amanda. You can't gain resources here, so that'll hurt me during the upkeep phase, and you can spend 3 resources to explore. Yeah, sure. I spend 3 resources, I explore as my last action. So we're looking for the other orange heart. That's good. Orange heart's the awful one that ends your turn when you explore here 50% of the time. I don't know what the other one does. I take a direct horror. Alright. That seems much softer than end your turn. It's 4 Shroud, but it'll have 2 less if we have a lot of horror damage. Not really important. Anyway, that's it for us. No enemies are alive. Upkeep phase. Over here for Amanda, we do have to toss something. It'll be the other magnifying glass. And over here for Mandy, Cold Evidence isn't quite the draw you're looking for. Top of the round, 3 of 8 Doom, evil cards. That is not the card I'm looking for right after I play my Occult Lexicon. Cool, let's go ahead and just discard my Blood Rights then. Sorry, you go back in the deck. Prophesie's gone, I lose an action. 4 and 5. Yep, there we go. What's that? You thought you had a plan that involved cards in your hand? Go to hell. Oh, let's do it again. It was so much fun the first time. Alright, cool. 3, 4, 5. Cool, very fun. Oh my god, there are 3 copies of that card in the deck. That is so gross. It's just a card that I absolutely despise. Amanda is a character that can easily defend herself the entire scenario in any scenario that doesn't have that card. And in this scenario, it's like, I don't know. Do you just lose all, like, 2 Blood Rights to a random Mythos card that has no test involved? Anyway, investigation phase. This gets shuffled back into my deck. We are probably trying to get these clues this turn. In which case, deduction should be duplicated under us. Oh, we only get 1 action, though. I guess I'm going to throw Perception and use my Practice Makes Perfect to look for the other deduction. Or a Promise of Power. Wait a hot second. This is actually important. Just now, we explored. Amanda's the one who did the exploring. We forgot to advance the act. Thankfully, I caught this fast enough that it's not ruining the scenario. And because I'm not enjoying this scenario, I'm going to go ahead and skip past flavor text so that we can get through this as quickly as possible. Amanda's the one who advanced, so she tests 4 head. If she fails, she's getting a random weakness. I had Essence of the Dream. That's kind of all I had. I got Practice Makes Perfect. Promise of Power. That's only up 4. It's not nearly as good as you would want it to be, but it's what's happening. We're good. Essence of the Dream is discarded. Promise of Power is over here. No random basic weakness for us. And now we're in Act 2A, Past and Present. If we get all the clues from all 6 locations in their ancient versions, then we're able to advance and get the ending where you skip Part of the Elders Part 1 entirely, because the best ending is skipping content in this scenario. What I'm going to be aiming to do is getting 5 of these locations and then killing off the boss and playing Heart of the Elders Part 1. We need to hit update connections. This one looks like it doesn't actually change. It does not. Anyway, for Amanda's turn, I've given up on that perception because my hand looks a lot different than I thought it did. I draw 3 cards, put 2 curses in the bag. And, oh, I upgraded both of them. I was wondering how this was upgraded. I'll take the 3 resources as well. For Mandy's turn, do I just double action explore and that's my whole turn? Yeah, I could play the Expedition Journal, but I don't feel good about the economy of that. So I'm going to double action explore. We're looking for a new circle. There we go. Why didn't you spawn clues? That's very weird. We've had all sorts of weird issues with this scenario specifically. My favorite one is that somebody threw the Harbinger of Elusia into the middle of the map when they had evaded it, and it spawned clues on a location for some reason when they hit it. We also need other fun stuff. We usually keep our Explore deck down here, like towards the middle of our play area. And sometimes update connections, it's not doing it now, we'll go to the Explore deck, just snap it in half. That's why I've got it off to the side this time. I just read what Temple Omer does, and I'm livid about it. Forced after enters play, shuffle the encounter discard pile in the encounter deck, discard cards on top of the deck until a serpent enemy is discarded. Spawn that enemy here. You want to know how many serpent enemies we have with the Forging Your Own Path route? This one. So this just says shuffle the encounter deck into the discard pile, which means that these 3 cards, the 3 most devastating cards in this set, the only ones we've drawn so far, just get shuffled back in. That's what that says. And I'll go through it. We can look at all the things in this that aren't snakes, just to be sure. But I did this with my table less than a week ago. I know how this one plays out. It's just very frustrating. Yep. That'll be a 1 shuffled encounter deck coming up. Anyway, that's it for us. Upkeep phase. Decent enough draws, I guess. Top of the round, 4 of 8 Doom and Evil cards. Oh, fuck off. Can I please just take my turns? Cool, I lose deduction and an action. Cool, I lose shortcut and an action. I shuffle the weakness back in. Someday I'll get to play the game. It's very important that we pass these. I'm up nothing right now. It's a flat test. I play practice makes perfect. I use my ability. Have I not hit my weakness yet? I haven't hit my weakness yet. This practice makes perfect misses every single time. What I do is I use Mr. Rook, and he'll hit the encounter card. We didn't get the 1 in 10 to lose. So now Shocking Discovery goes off, we draw a card, it's Words of Power. We're gonna have a hard time getting clues or doing damage near Doom enemies, but that's fine. And now we play Practice Makes Perfect. Search our whole deck with our ability. I've already discarded both copies of Promise of Power. This is in no way, shape, or form helpful. It turns out is the real answer. It does pay for itself at least, because I get the resources back from Astounding Revelation. I can commit these, go up to. You don't have to commit the cards from Practice Makes Perfect. Wait, based on the wording of Practice Makes Perfect, it looks mandatory, and I've used Mandy's effect, so I think I don't actually have a choice, and now that I've done this, I have to do this. I don't know why I set 4 clues here. I don't think I need this Deduction and Perception, and I really want to duplicate these Enraptureds. So I'm going to use Deduction and Perception here instead. They don't do anything. I commit Dream Enhancing Serum, and I commit Occult Evidence to go up to. Oh, nice. Practice Makes Perfect, please? I'll take the Occult Lexicon, I guess. And these will go to hands. Jesus Christ, the game is not going according to plan for Amanda. Discard 4 cards, lose 4 actions. What were the cards? Like Shortcut, Deduction, Bloodright, something else? Anyway, let's do the Amanda thing and feel bad about it. Essence Ring comes to hand after I make the decision. Nothing I put under me is relevant. These crack the cases don't matter, so I guess I'll use one of them. And then I'll take Amanda's turn first. I play Deep Knowledge on myself. That's a lot of curses in the bag. We should probably dig those out at some point. I'm going to play Milan, take this chance to do it. And then I'm going to investigate twice, committing Perception to each one to investigate at, I believe, 8 to 4. 8 to 4. There are no further effects on this location, so I don't need to think about anything. First one's a success. Second one's a bigger success. So draw Perception, search 3. Is there an order that this ability should come in? There's probably an order based on star resolving and if the test is successful being in different timing steps, but I really don't know that I care. Unfortunately, now I don't get to duplicate one of my enraptureds. I can still guarantee hit the other one, though. Anyway, these perceptions go away. I will take both clues and a money from Milan. Just sort of forgetting controls for a hot second. That's it for us. No enemies alive. Just went straight into the Mythos phase out of habit and cynicism. Upkeep phase, then we draw the encounter cards. Arrows from the trees. Congratulations, Mandy, or Amanda, rather. You're going to take the damage. And so are you, Mandy, actually. I kill the Mr. Rook. I take 2 damage on myself. And Mandy also draws a card. Whoops. You go back in the deck. You were the second one that hits. Oh. Well, this would have gained Surge into him if I had read what it does. Anyway, take 1 horror. Right now I'm taking 1, 2, 3 damage. I'll take the horror on myself then to try to get into range of the other card. Hey, we ended up right where we're supposed to be anyway. I'm going to put him here. That way Mandy can walk into him, bait an attack, then explore. That sounds good. Anyway, that's it for the Mythos phase, investigation phase. We do the Amanda thing. I just don't have enthusiasm about Amanda this game. She's been just steamrolled by that one card. It's got to be Whispers in the Deep. What am I even thinking about? So I had started doing my plan with Mandy, and now I'm looking at it and realizing that it's not quite right, because I really want to use these 2 charges on the Old Ancient Stone instead of discarding with the Occult Lexicon. And I can't draw it all with Mr. Rook, unfortunately. And I know this is enraptured, it's not going to help me. Amanda could do it. And she also goes into range, so it works out. Okay, I'll have Amanda do it then. Amanda's going to walk down. She's going to Bloodrite and shuffle it back in, draw 2 cards, take 1 horror. Our discards are going to be a little bit harder to choose than I was expecting. Prophesy, probably. We are going into the rounds and Prophesy is actually pretty sick. I'd like to hold it. But then, like, I look at this hand and what am I tossing? Unrelenting, because I got the other Lab Assistance. And Perception, because Mandy can do clues, Amanda can do clues. We have plenty of ways of getting clues. The issue is making sure we deal with all the enemies. Double Seeker, especially these Seekers, don't need Perception to break them out. Anyway, spend 2 resources, kill the man. Last action, I'm going to play another Lab Assistant, get my hand size up to 12. And hopefully if I hold my entire deck in my hand, then they can't kill me with collapsing timelines anymore. Which unfortunately doesn't solve the problem they're wasting these 2 charges, but that's fine, I guess. I'm going to waste these 2 charges to play the Occult Lexicon. I gotta move this turn. I don't need to be here because there are penalties when these come into play. I'd like to minimize that happening. So this is the foot test when you test 3 foot. If you fail, take 1 damage. If you succeed, explore. Next turn I can try to practice Makes Perfect to Promise a power out of the deck. It's about a 50-50 chance. Did I finish exploring this with, like, or investigating this with Crack the Case in the hand and just not do it? Yeah, it's fine. I'll live. I'm going to Bloodrite for 2. Draw 2 cards, shuffle it in. I'm never playing these, so I'm discarding them just to draw or gain the resources so I can get a Mr. Rook online next turn. That's it for us. No enemies, upkeep phase. I keep going to upkeep phase and trying to advance the agenda. Our hand size is 12, so that's actually fine. 3rd Bloodrite is what I wanted to see. The Enraptured would suck, but it's fine if that gets discarded. Creeping Poison does nothing to us, but it does Surge. Arrows from the trees. I'm not in an ancient location on Mandy, so that's good. But that is 3 fucking damage on Amanda. Not a fan of that shit, Jesus. The problem is that even though I would normally be safe to just take the damage on Amanda, it would be annoying and very scary, but fine. The other arrows from the trees is in the deck. I'm actually not safe. If I don't kill these guys, the other arrows in the trees might just kill me. Fine, I kill him. I don't like doing this, but I kill him. It's the only way to make myself safe in future turns. Creeping Poison does nothing. It surges into ST League Guardian. The 2 opposing mindsets with ST League Guardian are put him next to you so you can deal with them, or far away so you never have to. I'll have to at some point with this location, but that's fine. I can manage. Start the investigation phase. We do the Mandy thing. The Amanda thing. Jesus, it won't stop. I believe our Doom is high enough that Prophesy is actually a good pick to go under us right now. Okay, this turn we're trying to investigate a lot. In which case, Prophesy is not going to fill the bag with curses like Promise of Power would, so I'm going to do that. We're going to start the turn by exploring, looking for the new star from the Explore deck, because we have taken 5 or more damage. There's the new star, it's the Sacred Woods. After turn is played, discard the top 10 cards of your deck. Just let Amanda play the game. What is this, Dunwich? Yeah, sure, whatever. Deduction, shortcut, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, cool. Promise of Power, both deductions. There was another card in there that I really cared about. The Dream Enhancing Serum and the Cryptic Research. Boundary Beyond is just not an enjoyable experience. Anyway, what's this location say, and update its connections. If you have no cards in your deck, you just get all the clues. Unfortunately, I'm a ways off of that. I could actually engineer that relatively soon. But no, I'm investigating. I'm using Promise of Power, or Practice Makes Perfect, rather. We can't hit Deduction, unfortunately, but we can still hit Perception and investigate at high number. And that seems perfectly reasonable to me. Actually, I'm going to get Prophesy. It's a higher number, and I don't need to draw cards. This puts me at 8 to 4. I'd like to be up 1 higher. Oh well. No punish. I will take a clue, take my Prophesy, immediately recommit it. Curse, Skull, -5. That one's a fail. Is Crack the Case limited to during your turn? No, it's not. That's good, because on Mandy, I'm going to use Pendant of the Queen and take that last clue, letting Amanda crack the case for 4 twice. Over here on Mandy, I am going to play the Mr. Rook. I am going to tap the Mr. Rook. 50-50 of hitting my weakness. Oh wait, I still have a thing. I forgot I had this Enraptured left. Okay, I'll tap the Mr. Rook relatively soon, not right now. We're holding him for a hot second. Let's take our foot 3 test. Realize we can't possibly take a foot 3 test. Play Blood Ride and shuffle it in. Play Blood Ride and shuffle it in. Put the horror on Mr. Rook. I need to gain a resource. I don't love this perception. It just sounds like vulnerability to merging timelines to me at this point. And now I tap the Mr. Rook. I double use him. Come on, weakness. Let's see it. Yep. Cool. What do we hit? Empty location. For ease of dealing, I guess I throw him up here. Yeah, that seems right. And now I guess I'm going to take this Explore attempt. I'm going to use Practice Makes Perfect. We're really just looking for Promise of Power specifically. We don't hit it. That's unfortunate. We actually don't hit a single practice skill, which is honestly probably for the best. So I'll take my 2 resources. And that basically just means we will be failing this Explore test. There's really nothing that's going to fix that. Oh. Well, I'm glad Mandy has really good stats, then. Are you sure you don't want to just put a damage on Mr. Rook? He's really expendable. Let's go get the new triangle. Update the connections again. And as you can see, every time that we update connections, it's just straight lines between the edges. Which isn't complicated, but when you don't remember what it looks like, or you're playing it for the first time, it's just tremendously confusing. We're at a 4 Shroud, 2 clue location. You get -2 head while you're here. If you draw a Hex card, you discover a clue. Well, that's neat and all, but our turns are over. The enemy does nothing, upkeep phase. Barely under hand size there. Decently under hand size here. Top of the round, 7-8 doing. We're actually making a really good pace despite all of my salt. We're already at 2 ways covered. We're working on the next 2. Do I have a Blood Right? I mean, I could have a Blood Right. How many are my discard pile right now? Oh, they're all in my deck, you say? This man's probably dead then. I mean, he's definitely dead. He might get an attack opportunity on me, but this says I draw my whole deck to hit him. So, yeah, that guy doesn't stand a chance. He's dead. All right, this is the thing that we're supposed to be avoiding having happen to us. This is just a 50% chance. I'm going to tap the Mr. Rook and double use him. We get this out of the deck. Promise of Power is the 8th card, or the 9th. Now we're down to these. I want the healing. We'll find the other Mr. Rook eventually. Anyway, gain 2 resources. Yep, 2 resources. Put this in hand. Use a resource to play Practice Makes Perfect and try to find the other Promise of Power to recur it. Hell yes. We currently have 4 on boards. This actually only puts us up 2. I'm not against using Promise of Power to make sure I pass this. Yeah, okay. I add the other Promise of Power. We're up 6. Cool. Totally necessary Promise of Power. I take the Mr. Rook. This goes away. This comes to hand. Get it out of here. The agenda is about to advance. That's not a problem at all, though. Okay, we're back where we should be. Fun fact, I had not noticed there were 10 curse tokens in the bag. I actually can no longer play Promise of Power. Well, I can, it's just not good anymore. I take 2 horror. So, last time to do this, I forgot to do the Mandy thing. The Amanda thing, damn it. And it's very important that I do that, because it affects the number of cards in my deck going into a Blood Right cycling turn. None of these are cards that I want under me. Or, I guess more accurately, none of these are cards that I won't. I'm going to get rid of the shortcut. My reason being, if I have duplicates of a card, or it's a single card in my deck, it's safe from the collapsing timelines with this card. Now we're going to do the same thing we would have done last time. Draw 3 cards as a fast action. Blood Right for 2, draw 2, shuffle it in. We toss the Magnifying Glass, we toss... It's actually a hard call between what the other card that goes is. I think it's Practice Makes Perfect. I just need to get set up to be safe, and Practice Makes Perfect makes me less safe right now. I can go back in the deck, it's fine. Spend 2 resources, deal 2 damage. Play another one. Correctly this time. Now we're going to draw 3 cards. Can't shuffle this one back in, unfortunately. We're going to discard this Perception, spend a resource, and kill this man. If I play this Dream Enhancing Serum, my hand size does not get much better. Be that as it may, it's still my last action. Over here for Mandy, there doesn't appear to be anything that is in pressing need of her attention. I'm 100% sure that I used my ability during the Mythos phase and just forgot to flip it. I have -2 head at my location. So the good news is that I got a Hex Treachery, and that means I get a clue. I remember how it went. I committed double Promise of Power and got Star. So my double Promise of Power play to go up to +6 was actually only +4 and super justified. And I also feel a lot less safe about it, but a lot more convinced it was the right thing to do, now that I realize where I was. Glad I caught that and didn't have to wonder while editing it how badly I messed up. But first, before I do any of that, I need to get this clue. We're only at +2 right now. There's a million curses in the bag. I think I just take straight test until I hit it, because it's impossible to do math with this many curses. Well, I mean, that's not a curse, but it's like a curse cascade. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. That was more in line with what I thought was going to happen. And I'm going to do it again. There's just too many curses in the back for me to feel good about anything. Like, that's a -5. I don't have Promise of Power or Scry available. Well, I have Promise of Power. I meant Practice Makes Perfect. I don't need Promise of Power to get a clue. Especially with a bag already full of curses. So it feels bad to do that, but I just need to dig curses out of the bag. My hand's good enough. I probably should have played Archive of Conduits over one of those cards. Well, no, because if I got unlucky and succeeded, I get to play Crack the Case. It's not entirely clear that I should have played Archive of Conduits. But this deduction's irrelevant to me. It's definitely going. The next card I draw is probably going as well. The enemy does nothing. That's it for us. Upkeep phase. We are going to see Deduction needs to go. Expedition Journal needs to go. I want to keep this to get my hand size better. But the cards I would be discarding are pretty damn premium. Like, Practice Makes Perfect actually never gets to stay. That's wild to say, but it's easily one of the least important cards in my hand. I'm going to toss Obscure Studies. I've got enough question marks in hand, I don't need it. Anyway, Mythos phase, the agenda finally advances. The Harbinger is in fact still alive, and we do have lots of Doom, and he is best friends with Mandy. And it has 1 whole damage on it. With the amount of Yig's Fury we have, you would think that he's taken more damage, but that is not the case. The barrier's thin, 5 Doom threshold. I can beat the shit out of this guy. I can very quickly get him down to 10 to flip his foot and evade, if I want to. But before we talk about that, we have to take our evil cards. There is a cultist, he gains a doom. Then we test head against his value of 2. So base 2 to 2. I commit this to it, goes 6 to 2. 4 to 2, auto fail. Very fun. So I'll take 2 horror. Hey, Mandy, can I get some of that healing? It's looking pretty grim over here. And for Mandy, we get the other timeline destabilization. I double tap Mr. Rook and the lightning bolt during skill test windows. I take the resources. I might be grabbing this ancient stone. I was looking for promise of power that isn't literally not even in the deck. The number of times I play practice makes perfect, looking specifically for cards that I don't have is getting kind of upsetting. Actually, I'm at a location with a clue. Rather than taking this one, I'm going to take occult evidence, which will get the clue at my location, and then we'll crack the case. My location has 4 shroud to gain 4 resources. That's just obviously much better. I think I gained 2 and then 4. I didn't remove the astounding revelation money. That seems like it's right to me. Anyway, we can pull any 2 cards we want. I'm going to take Deep Knowledge, Dream Enhancing Serum, and commit them alongside Promise of Power. Add a curse to the bag. 1, 2, 6, 9 to 5. -3, get it out of here. We honestly don't have that much exploring left. Like, I probably could have just chosen to fail that one, but our health values are kind of sketch. That brings us to the investigator phase. We need to do the Amanda thing. And she might be helping out by, like, dealing with the Harbinger of Elusia by evading him. As much as I want that to be the case, I don't know how that happens. Like, she walks over, engages, evades, and doesn't have a shortcut to leave. Doesn't feel good, right? I think we're very much locked into Mandy taking a hit this round and getting out next round. We can deal some damage to this thing, though. Mandy is set up to do the one broken seeker thing. It's a shame about our house rule preventing him from being evaded. Otherwise, we could just deal fucking 12 damage to him and walk away. Oh. Just so we're perfectly clear what happens here without my house rule, I evade him as a free action. I play double Blood Rights for 3. I deal 6 damage from here, 6 damage from the Blood Rights. He goes up to 13 damage, is evaded, and I just leave. And then we can deal with him properly later. But, like, Jesus, it's so sad. If I find a shortcut, I can shortcut over to Amanda. And I am going to be cycling through my whole deck, and the shortcut's still in my deck, so it looks like we do have a plan. I'm going to be Blood Riding for 3. Do I have the ability to refill before the boss gets here? I can at least refill the Ancient Stones, and that'll be enough. But I don't need to completely empty myself of Blood Rights. I'll just Blood Right for 2 a couple of times. I'm going to toss this Astounding Revelation and try to get my Promise of Power back. Yeah, that's what I thought. This Promise of Power wasn't in my hand. I just got confused. I just want it to be in my hand. So we toss the Astounding Revelation. And that's it. We're going to spend 2 charges from this. Put 3 more damage on this man. We play a Blood Right for 2. Actually, we probably play this one for 3, huh? No, we play it for 2. I fucking believe. And maybe believing's wrong, but I don't really mind that much. I will be using 2 charges to deal 2 damage. That always happens. And I don't know that I actually want to discard anything in this hand. I'm going to shortcut into Amanda's location. I play Deep Knowledge. He kills Mr. Rook, deals 1 horror to Milan. 2 curses in the bag. Draw 3 cards. I spend my last 3 charges putting him to 9. And that's this turn. I forgot to do Amanda's thing because I was so preoccupied with Harbinger of Elusia. The plan on Amanda from the start was to find a way to evade this man. Fine, it's the Relic of Ages' job. And this will come to hand. It looks like it has to be Blood Right, Engage, Evade. It's got Alert. It does just kill me if I do that and it goes wrong. Yeah, I hadn't really looked at Autofail. I just keep forgetting this guy has Alert. He's just such a big snake. It's a serious problem. Mandy's got plenty of health and damage left. Mandy's got enough left to just take a hit, so it's fine. I'm going to, over here, spend this turn playing a little bit greedily. I draw 2, shuffle it in. Discard this Magnifying Glass to bring this guy up to 10, and that will flip-flop his stats, right? Yeah, the 10 damage is going to make him with 2 fists, or 4 fists rather, 2 foot. and that's much more preferable for our team composition. Next, I need to get Soak in play. I just feel sketched out right now. I'm going to spend the rest of my turn playing Beta and Lab Assistant. Play this immediately, just get it out of my hand so I feel safe. Don't quite have enough cards in hand for it to be good, though. That's it for us. Enemy phase, he swings for 2/2. It does hurt. We don't need this book, though. Sorry about that, Milan. I don't believe this guy does anything differently he has a Doom. He just has the Doom now. That is correct. That brings us to the upkeep phase. We're good on hand size, just barely. We're not good on hand size, just barely. Man, these are some good cards that I don't want to discard, aren't they? I think it's the Jeremiah Kirby. The Archive of Conduits represents a lot of healing that I would feel much safer if I kept it. That's it for us. 2 of 5 Doom, evil cards. Words of Power. Neither of us can kill this man right now, so somebody's going to need to deal with that. Where'd your Doom go? So just now I drew Words of Power, went up to say that neither of us could kill this guy, found out that his Doom had fallen through him into the board beneath him, and apparently during that I just mechanically clicked this draw card and already got an Ancient Evils, so I guess we got Ancient Evils. 3 of 5 Doom. Going into the investigation phase, we do the Amanda thing. I'm looking at this wondering how it could ever not be Essence of the Dream. And the answer is it's totally Essence of the Dream. So what we're looking to do, I think, is just seal the bad tokens with Unrelenting. The bad tokens are like -5, -3 curse. And that also brings us up to +5. So this seems like a really good evade odd. We're at 2, 6, 7 to 2. 5 to 2, 4 to 2. I did seal -3, so it was still pretty good odds at that point. He's evaded. I had one more chance before it got really scary. I think I'm gonna shortcut up, play some Cryptic Researches on myself, maybe? Are deductions back in my deck? Is that an option? It is an option. Oh, there's a deduction here. I think I'm gonna shortcut myself up. There's no reason not to. We still can't explore this location. Like, we just physically can't. Which is a slight problem. Because it's very hard to run from Harbinger in the original city. You need to be in the ancient city to cut him off. Like, this connection right here is a problem. Wait, no, it's not, because it's not going both ways. This doesn't go right, so we can go up and around and he'll have to chase us. Yeah, we're fine. I can shortcut up like I was talking about. I could have Dream Enhancing Serum on this Cryptic Research, apparently. Did not even realize I'd drawn it. I have so much card draw in hands. Do I try to improve my hand? I guess I do. Draw 1, 2, 3. Draw 1, 2, 3. Let's take a minute to reevaluate where we're at. Last action, I'm going to play Lab Assistant. If I get arrows in the trees again, it's fine. I'll just kill the guy. I'm not going to be happy about it, but it's a solution to the problem. Over here for Amanda, we take our 1 broke leg move action to move up, and then we kill Words of Power, because somebody's got to deal with this cultist. Upkeep phase, we're hand size fine there. It doesn't look like it should be the case, but dumb things are happening. Over here, we're just barely fine. We're not. We're at 9. I think we're at the point where deduction doesn't matter. It's a weird point to be at, but I think that's where we are. Yep, that's where we're at. Mandy is dedicated Boss Killer. This man's going to Ready. That's it for the upkeep phase, Mythos phase, 4 of 5 Doom, and evil cards. Merging timelines. I mean, I can only play around it so much. If I end my turn by drawing repeatedly into singleton cards, it sort of unintentionally exposes me to it. I was trying to set up a hand like this. Fuck you. 2, fuck you. 3, 4, 5, shuffle it back in. What a fun card. So Amanda's turn is just to leave now. She was going to get deduction, get all the clues, and then leave, but there is kind of a giant snake here. It is a bit of a problem. Let's see what Amanda, or what Mandy's hitting rather, before we make any decisions about if there's a solution. Oh, should you have engaged somebody and hit them? You totally should have engaged somebody and hit them. Amanda took her turn first, so it has to have been her. And I'll put the horror on a lab assistant. I think I can put this guy over here and we never have to deal with him, so that's what I'll be doing. And now, before we can make any plans, we have to do the Amanda thing. And it's a little bit complicated this time because what should have been easy deduction is once again just like, oh, what do you even do? You don't have a turn. This is the 3rd time that Amanda just skipped her turn. If Amanda moves right, Mandy can pin the queen to the bottom. get shot to death, I guess. But then this Harbinger of Lucia will move left. Okay, this turn, Amanda will be basically skipping her turn, which means it doesn't matter what I throw under me. I just want to do something that is less likely to punish me if we have to interact with that card again. Which means I want to use Cryptic Writings under me. It really doesn't matter what I pick. And her turn has to go after Amanda's, unfortunately, or Mandy's, rather. And Mandy's turn is a little bit nonsensical, but it's fine. I'm going to play Bloodright for 3 because I can't shuffle it into an empty deck. I am going to discard this Dream Enhancing Serum and this Perception. And I think I need to discard one more. No, he's already dead. Good. That clears this Doom. I'm going to, that is not an action, I'm going to Pendant of the Queen over to this location. And then I'm going to Bloodright for 2 again. Or for 2 the first time, not for 3 this time. I toss the Perception. I toss... Is it Practice Makes Perfect? Yeah, it's Practice Makes Perfect. I spend 2 resources, and I kill this man. And then I hobble my broken leg down, because we need to bait the Harbinger away from this location so that we can investigate it. Unfortunately, Amanda's only action is to move this way. She doesn't have a choice, she doesn't get to do anything interesting. We're just not allowed to get clues this turn. Anyway, that's it for us. The Harbinger is going to hunt. Upkeep phase, Whispers from the Deep. Oh, Christ. I guess Amanda's not going to get to find clues next turn either. Oh, enemy phase, this man will shoot Mandy for 1. Which isn't, like, great feeling, but we're technically fine. We are running out of time with that 5th pillar. Hound of Tyndalus is not really an issue. Oh, Amanda also got shot for 1, now that I look at the board a little bit more. I'll easily put that on beta, though. Well, I would like to get 5 pillars. Even though things have went a little bit to shit in these last couple of turns. So I don't want to Ancient Evils this. I'm not a fan of this, but it's what we gotta do. I'm gonna return an Ancient Location to the Explore deck. It's gonna be the one that we were never able to get started on because of the snake. Shuffle that back in. See what our new updated connections look like. The same. That location doesn't actually change. Cool. And now what we're looking for... Oh my god, we were actually not even on the 4th pillar. We were... Gross. Gross, gross, gross. So we're only getting 4 pillars, we're not getting 5. This snake and Amanda skipping 4 turns and losing every single deduction she ever got was a little bit too much, it looks like. Anyway, investigation phase, Amanda draws a card, she didn't get a skill test, Whispers in the Deep goes on to her. Again. I don't think it's even possible for us to get another pillar. I was really expecting to get 4 pillars, at least 5 in Sandbag. But things just went so catastrophically wrong for Amanda this game. Just skipped so many actions, discarded almost every deduction the turn I plan to use them. She does have 2 deductions in hand, but she literally can't trigger that effect. Her deck doesn't cost enough. I have most of my deck in my hand and I only have 4 combined cost. I'm greeting so hard right now. I'm trying to figure out how to get one of these locations as victory, and I should just be leaving. No, there's a way to get victory, and I'm going to go for it. This man's going to attack Amanda as an opportunity attack when she moves up and discard himself. We have to get rid of something and take 1/1. Horror goes here, damage goes here, and the Dream Diary is probably what we're going to be losing. But this will come to our hand first when the turn starts, so that's nice at least. And yeah, it's the Dream Diary. Next up, the Explore rules on this location are only spend 3 resources. Not that spooky. Let's give it another go, see if we get the same one or the new one. End your turn immediately. Sorry, Amanda, you just don't get to take actions today. That's not what you do. It's fine, you've already done your part. Yeah, this is very easy for us to get. Even though it'll have however much Shroud, Mandy should be able to crush through it. We actually might have been able to get 5 if Amanda's turn hadn't ended. I'm trying to find a way to keep my Pendant of the Queen alive. It feels like impossible to do, though. I've had these 2 Enraptured for so long, but just haven't been able to investigate anything because of this scenario. I've just never been able to do anything but fight or move around and explore. I've rarely been in a situation where I can commit these. First action, I'm playing Mr. Rook. Second action, I'm using Mr. Rook. Well, it's not an action, actually, but I'm using him. Oh, Shocking Discovery is in the deck. That makes it a lot less transparently good, what I just did, but... Oh well, we're here now. Anyway, we're looking at Promise of Power. I think I'm looking at Promise of Power, and I don't care what the other result is. Crack the case. Promise of Power, crack the case, easy choices. We're going to break our pendant to the Queen and be very sad about it to teleport up to Amanda's location. And then we're going to investigate with a deduction from Amanda, getting me at 6 to 4. Enraptured, be comically sad about the way this times out. Go 8 to 4. How many curses do we have? We got 7 curses. I definitely want to go higher than this. Essence of the Dream. Up 6. Let's go. 0. Congratulations, Mr. Rook. You have more charges than you'll ever need. We'll take both clues. We'll crack the case a couple of times. That gives us 8 more resources spread how we want. Let's just both go up to 10. That seems neat. And I haven't actually moved properly this turn, nor am I going to. I replaced this Ancient Stone with the good Ancient Stones that have 7 charges. That's it for us. Enemy phase, the Harbinger moves, upkeep phase. Amanda will always be good on hand size. Mandy's used most of her cards. 5 Doom, we advance the agenda. We do get 4 paths known to us, which is pretty neat. But I was expecting to hit 5. I'm a little bit disappointed. But what can you do? That game on Amanda has been so rough. Like, as a player, I'm fine with it, because I'm also Mandy. But if I were playing just Amanda, I would have had a miserable time. So those 5 go into the victory display. Then we put an ancient location over every location in the game. We have 2 locations that don't get into play. The one that just happened for us is everyone take 1 direct horror. You okay there, Amanda? You're not looking so hot. I mean, she does have 5 horror soak in play. She's actually fine. I think this is the only direct horror in this scenario. But it's not looking great for her. We lose all of our clues. Not that I have any use for them. We're going to spawn our boss enemy down here. Unfortunately, 6 health is not much of a challenge for the ways that we kill enemies. And now we have Act and Agenda 3. 6 Doom threshold to the game ends. We can either win with 4 clues or by killing Padma. And I'm sorry to tell you this, Padma, but you're worth victory too, and I'm past the point of caring about vengeance too. And when we hit update connections this time, you can see it's just a line around the perimeter. Okay. Are you Hunter or anything? She is. She'll come to meet us. Isn't that nice of her? I'm going to spend my first action on Mandy, realizing that we haven't drawn our evil cards and not ruined the game. Let's see how that goes. Brotherhood Cultist, not so fun. And window to another time, you can have the Doom. Actually, why would I give you Doom? There's literally no penalty to setting this aside. I don't care. Does this say to remove the Explore deck from the game? It does not. So right now I have an Explore deck with 2 irrelevant locations in it, and I can put it in that. This does change the game state that Explore deck has not been explicitly removed from the game. Okay. So like I was saying a second ago, I'm going to play Archive of Conduits for 4. Apparently I dropped it at some point and got rid of its tokens. Next, I'm going to play Bloodright for 2. Draw 2 cards, shuffle it back in. Discard this one, spend 2 charges, and kill this man. After spending a resource, of course. We have to do the Amanda thing. I can't just stop caring and not do it. Unrelenting is unhelpful at this point in the game. And since she's going to move over towards us, there's no use going further right now. In terms of who's most likely to die to what, I tap Mr. Rook, double use my ability. Let's see if this changes that math real quick. We dodge Shocking Discovery, I hit double Bloodright. That sounds like a good deal to me. We went from like maybe a little bit sketched out to not even a little bit sketched out. This is completely safe. I'm pretty sure we're both completely safe, but I'm going to burn a ley line and heal Amanda for 2 horror, give her 2 cards as my last action. On Amanda's turn, I'm going to shortcut Mandy into the next location. I'm going to walk to the next location myself. I get rid of Words of Power. I don't know, nothing matters. I'm going to take a damage here and put it on Lab Assistant from the Archer. Over here I take a damage, I put it on Mr. Rook. This man hunts, this woman hunts, rather. Upkeep phase, we're still good on hand size, and we're still good on hand size here as well. 1 of 6 Doom, and evil cards. It's fine. Amanda skipped every other turn of the game. Why wouldn't she skip this one? 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, like, exactly. I fucking hate this scenario, man. It's just not a fun time. It's just not fun at all. Anyway, Mandy gets an evil card too. It's the Tendrils Alpha. Cool. Amanda goes first. We have to pretend it matters what I do with this card. I don't get this one. I put this one under because I'm done thinking. I spend my first action engaging the Tendrils Alpha, and I can't Cryptic Research Mandy anymore because my Cryptic Research is mysteriously gone. It doesn't matter though. Mandy walks down, engages with this person. I play Bloodright for 3. I discard these 3 cards, spend 3 resources, spend 3 charges, and deal 6 damage, which is, I believe, the amount of health you have. It is. She's dead. 1 action, no test taken. What's our resolution? R1. I feel like we're having one character lose like 10 actions and an equivalent number of cards to that Mythos card. That was pretty good. In editing, I'll pay more attention. I feel like this was like a Mandy solo run, just on 2-player difficulty. Like Amanda did almost nothing. I don't know. Let's go figure out what we need to do in R1 before we can stop playing this. Funny joke, if you type something wrong and you hit Ctrl-Z to get it back, you reset all of Tabletop Sim. Alright, so we get 3 Vengeance going up to 13 Vengeance. We get 4, 5, 6, 7 experience. We update the Harbinger to be at 10 damage. Ichitaka has faith in us, and 4 paths are known to us. And dear God, we can leave. We still have to get through Heart of the Elders Part 1, which isn't a great scenario. But Boundary Beyond is like one of the lowest low points in all of Arkham Horror, and I'm just glad to be done with it. I don't have any meaningful post-commentary to say. I just want to wrap up the video and be done with it. I'm Rather Incoherent. I hope you had a better time than I did, and I'll see you in the next one.